Hello, we have Axel Villamil from Stagekeep with us. I'm super excited. One of the reasons is because I like hip hop, I like dancing, so I've been watching a bunch of videos of you dancing, Axel. And the cool thing is, he went from an Oscar Mayer Wiener commercial to a hip hop dancer to now founder and CEO of Stagekeep. Hi, Axel. How's it going?
Andrea, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Can you tell me about yourself and why you founded Stagekeep and what Stagekeep actually is?
Absolutely. So I've been a performer for over 20 years in the entertainment industry, from dancing, acting, singing, to being a creative director, to a director, cinematographer. I've really done most hats in front and behind the camera. So I've always had this huge bond with performers. And as I was a performer throughout university, I studied computer science, and I also was competing in Graz, Austria for Canada for hip hop championships of the world. Placed 17th in the world for solo hip hop freestyle. And it was just so weird because back home in Toronto, I was struggling to communicate with my performers. And they were writing things on pen and paper, and it was just so ridiculous. And the fact that I was also in computer science just contradicted everything I knew about, one, making things a lot easier with technology, and then also noticing, why are we still using stuff on paper? So I just decided to digitize this process and make everybody's life, not just mine, but also all the other fellow performers that I have on the stage, whether you're a dancer, you're a cheerleader, singer, whatever, a lot easier. So we made this because I'm in love with performing, I'm in love with the arts, entertainment, but I also just want to help people all the time.
That's awesome. And you're currently in beta and you're going to be going live soon, but
Yeah.
you've been using the app already and you've been rolling it out secretly for the last couple of years. So who's using it?
Yeah.
And what are they saying about it?
It was so interesting because it's funny. I love that you say in secret, because that was kind of the point of it. We wanted to see who could organically just find it. And it was wild because all we did, which was very interesting, we didn't put really any ads. I think the most we ever spent was $1,000. And for everybody that's ran ads knows that's like nothing. That's like a drop in the bucket. And we did it just for fun, but most of our users came from Google, just SEO. And people are looking up choreography app, dance app, and just not many were existing until we decided to really put our time and effort into a product that we knew would help performers, especially from my background and the rest of the teams. And then the users just came out of nowhere, like 24 countries, 10,000 plus users, over 500 plus customers without doing anything. And here's the most wild one, Andrea. I think it was like just finished graduating. Facebook was still hot. And I get somebody slides in my DMs and I'm like, who is this? Who's this like wonderful figure of a person? And her name now, Amber Caroli. And she's the head of entertainment for MLSE. And she's like, the Raptors need this so badly. And we're like, what? And this was in 2019. So if anybody in Toronto is listening, or all over the world who is a basketball fan, knows that NBA 2019 was a very special year for the Toronto Raptors, which was the championship year. So we made this cool deal where we had our like logo in the arena during halftime shows every single game. And it just so happened to be the year that Toronto won. So it was massive for us. Our logo was in the parade. We got a lot of brand recognition from that. And then just more and more people started using us. Like one was crazy, Dallas Cowboys. I go and message them. We get on a call and I go, hey, would love if you wanted to try out the app. We have the Raptors using it at the time. And then they go to us, they go, honey, we've been using you already. And we're like, oh my God. So it was really cool. Like some of the best cheerleaders and performers are on that team to really step it up. And we just really bootstrapped something small. I've never ran a tech company before. So this was me demystifying and seeing if there's a market for this. As, everybody I went to UFT, they really, wanted me to do, just as this is so new. Try and test it out with the little capital that you have. And we did for like $3,000. We made this product. It was so small, and we made it really, really quickly. And then it just kind of blew up. And then that's where we are now. We then found this wonderful, wonderful thing called Techstars, and we can talk about that more as we go down the train.
That's insane. I do want to add one more thing. When I went on your website, I saw Timbaland.
Yeah.
Like, how the heck did Timbaland get a hold of this?
This is wild, actually. And it's so funny you're talking about, me dancing and being this like dancer CEO. I just saw the commercial for Collision pop up. Somebody sent it to me and it's just me dancing all over it. I'm like, oh God, here we go. So why I say Collision is because Timbaland was at Collision. So here's what happened, Andrea. I was like young, entrepreneur, ready to go. I'm like, still young, obviously. And I'm going to go like, I'm gonna shoot my shot. I'm gonna shoot my shot. So Timbaland speaking, and I'm in love with every single song he's put out. Like anybody that doesn't know Timbaland, like one, you're sleeping under a rock. Two, you may have not know his name, but you know every single song that he's put out or every artist that he's worked with. Like, you know, Dirt Off Your Shoulders, Jay-Z, you can like name, keep on going. Like he's amazing work with Justin Timberlake, so many beats, Aaliyah, et cetera, Missy Elliott. Anyway, so he's on stage doing a keynote, and then there's a Q&A. I run to the Q&A. I'm like elbows deep, pushing through everybody, front of the stage. And I'm like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to go show him the app. And I had it on my iPad ready to go. This was me just as an attendee. I've never spoken at any of his conferences before. And I just saw him in concert in Virginia. So I was like, I grabbed the mic. I had my friend filming 2 angles, which was beautiful for PR now. And we go ahead and say, I'm like, hey, Timbaland, I've been a long time fan and you do a lot for us for music. I just saw you in Virginia. And then I play the demo of the app, right? It's working. I'm showing it and I'm trying to explain it. And then he just cuts me off, Andrea. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to shit my pants and also like cry all at the same time in excitement. And he goes to me, he goes, this is genius. And to this day, that was a huge motivating factor because once he said that, the whole crowd stopped in silence and then applauded like crazy. And I knew at that moment, I'm like, all right, let's keep pushing. Let's keep going. Let's keep pushing through. And, you know, after that point, it was just also enough credibility in the entertainment industry for when people do see that and hear about that, they go, okay, you have something. So that was a huge review for us. And we are in the works to, you know, work with him more with this new release. So that's stuff we're going to keep hush hush for now until we go ahead and solidify everything. But hopefully Timbaland's back on the gravy train. Last key thing about that, which is very funny though, that was 2019 pre-pandemic and the full video is online. And what he says to me, he goes, yeah, this is genius. And then he actually starts to go ahead and say, yeah, but you got to be careful because this might, you know, stop people from being in the room with each other. And we want everybody in the room. And then guess what happened? A global pandemic. So it's just very interesting and very funny to see that, you know, something that I was so scared about, he's like, and what we all were worried about of not being in the room with each other with technology like this became such a sudden need. And then all of a sudden, obviously subscribers dropped from our user base during the pandemic because who's out in entertainment at that point? But then it started to increase because people needed to find an alternative. So that's again why we keep pushing, why we keep going with what we're doing.
I just love it. I love your story. I think this is amazing.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so for founders that are listening right now, they're like, okay, well, you obviously like you get these big names, you already know what you're doing, you have like these great sports teams. So why bother joining an accelerator?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a great question. One, humbling myself hard. I chose to understand, like, it's funny because I was hanging out with like pretty cool names at the time, like Michelle Romano, I met through Dragon's Den. For all the Canadians that are listening, or the Americans that listen, that's like our Canadian Shark Tank. So she's one of the sharks on there, but our what we call a dragon. And, you know, she was already huge in like giving me guidance and talking to me. Her team with Andrew D'Souza and a lot of other great entrepreneurs that they work with. And people are like, well, you know this network, you have these people, like why go in? I only know surface level stuff. Like I want the nitty gritty. With all intents and purposes, I was brought up like dragon Asian mom, like let's get into it, right? And I want to go ahead and do the same thing too, which is really get in-depth understanding. Even though if I knew things, I want to know a different perspective. And I never went to school for business. The most I went to was entrepreneurship with computer science. So this has given me the ability to not just learn and specialize in something that I want to know. It's also learn with other people and from people who know much more than me. So I think it's so important as a founder to understand what you're really not good at and learn about it. And then find somebody that can do it better than you. Like, that's just the main piece. I'm a founder that I couldn't care less about any fame or whatever. I'm here to make sure that my team and the product is great. If my product is shit, then what are we doing? So that's why we spent a lot of time on going back to the drawing board, going to Techstars and saying, show us what we're doing wrong or what we can improve on. Because we're happy with all these names, but we know we can do better. We know we can be better for not just ourselves, but most importantly for the customers that we're going to be having.
I love that. So now you're in Techstars. You are in the 3-month accelerator program. What is one thing that really stands out to you that you learned that maybe you wouldn't have learned without Techstars?
Ooh, that's a great question. One thing that I learned that I wouldn't have learned without Techstars, I think, is a different type of work ethic. For anybody that's been in Techstars knows, this is an intense program. And not in a scary way, in the greatest way possible. Mentor Madness was the most ridiculous thing I have ever been in my life. I was just like half asleep between calls, trying to wake up and then like run other things. But it's all these different perspectives. And one thing that I think about that part of Mentor Madness that was so great for all of us is to basically take everything we know, whether it's from Techstars, whether it's from Bill Gates or from Richard Branson, Elon Musk, for whoever they are, whatever they're doing, with a grain of salt, because not everything will apply to you. And I think that's what it helped us understand, is how to filter what our needs are, not necessarily take any advice because it's just from somebody who may seem quote unquote successful in their field, because our field is very different from somebody in fintech or somebody out in, neurosciences or whatever, or ecom. Like, we are performers first, and they are for different types of customers. So yes, some things can apply, but also some things just don't. And also the last thing is that everybody's story is different. Speaking to 72 of the most amazing people I've met through Mentor Madness, to know that everybody's successful in their own way, and happiness is also a KPI that's very subjective for everybody else.
Yeah. So you're saying that a lot of stuff was coming your way. It was very busy. Work ethic was something that you really looked at. How did you get through the 3 months when it is just going? Was there like a little trick that you had, or how did you keep yourself awake and motivated throughout that whole time?
Massive amounts of Americanos. It was crazy because I was also conferencing my ass off like during that time too, because I also am a speaker for things like Collision and Web Summit. And I'm also, I was at Forbes at that time. And it's basically your team, right? Your team is massive. So I want to shout out Noah Tensinko, who was actually working with me through Techstars. If you're trying to do Techstars alone, no, absolutely not. Like, you need somebody there with you to help you take notes, to help you when you can't do things. You're gonna get sick, you're gonna be tired, your mental health is gonna be affected. And one thing I want to shout out Techstars on is the conscious understanding of how important mental health was. Shout out to Sunil Sharma for really, like, I would have some bad days, and he was our managing director, and he would talk to me and go, "Hey man, do you need a day? What's going on?" He'd give me a call. And we know the managing directors are very busy people. It's not just their current cohort, it's all the future cohorts, it's all, the more funding that they're trying to get, et cetera, et cetera. So that was something that was like really important to us. So having a great team, whatever your Techstars cohort is, and that's obviously Techstars doing that globally, but also number two, your internal team to check up on you, because your friends and family might not get it. They might not get this whole lifestyle, because this is an arena of different types of athletes that the world sees at surface level with, may see, $300,000, $1 million, but that doesn't really evaluate to like what goes in your pocket. It could be like negative of that, actually, of what's coming in. So not a lot of people know that, but your team does. And the people that are with you on Techstars, and most importantly, your fellow companies that are in the cohort, they understand it a lot. So it's a support system of being together while being alone.
Yeah. The network is, a lot of founders, when they graduate from Techstars, they always say that, like, the network I'm keeping with me, I'm staying in touch with them, and they've really helped me out. What do you think that you're going to do in the future? Since you just graduated, this just all happened. How do you think you're going to stay in touch with the network in the next couple of years, 5 years from now?
Yeah. We're all getting like kind of psycho about it. We're all creating these Notion boards of every network we've ever met in our entire lives. And I know a lot of other fellow colleagues of mine are doing it. And we're just trying to keep track of it, and also just like do as much warm touches here and there between everybody. But I still message my cohort through WhatsApp, and I talk to people as much as I can. We obviously will all get drained by that. Like, social batteries will go down. But I think the best way to do that is by going to the events, staying in touch with socials, and also maybe having a small group, whether it's on WhatsApp or Discord or Slack, whatever you want to do. And for people that you are close with to talk about, because as we know, as we go through this thing, it can become very superficial and transactional. If you really just need help with one bucket of things, tag them, keep them there, organize them, but also just hold the ones that, mean a lot to you close, and just take the time for each other just to listen, because it's so important in what we're doing. But yeah, I think going to more conferences, I love going to conferences. It's a fun time. I was exhausted. I think I went that Forbes conference. It was a 30 under 30 conference during Mentor Madness. So I'd go, stay up, party. Megan Thee Stallion was there, so it was nuts. And everybody was just like, having a fun time. And then we ended up waking up, like I went to sleep at 4 a.m. and Mentor Madness started at 6 a.m. where I was. So I was like dying during all the meetings, but you got to do what you got to do.
Hence the Americanos.
Yeah, exactly.
Said, sometimes entrepreneurship can be very transactional. So I want to talk about transactional stuff because it is important. So when you were going through Techstars, you learned about investing, pitching, asking for money, capital, that type of thing. Tell me where you're at right now with capital.
Yeah, absolutely. So right after Techstars, we had like a weird end to our demo day. End of Q4, start of Q1 is kind of this like lull in business, and also investors are like just finishing vacation, extending vacation, or just starting up and seeing what their goals are for the year if they're not already on track. And so we started our round later this year, I would say end of Jan. And right now we're basically just working through everything that's coming that's hot. Like we're raising money right now, raising $1 million. We're trying to close it up by April. And we've got a lot of cool interest. Like now because of Techstars, it's not just Canadian interest. Now it's like US interest, which is huge for us because most of our market, which is like, I would say 90% of our market is the US when it comes to performance and entertainment. So we're seeing some amazing, cool people reach out, which is a lot of people from New York, but also more importantly, the entertainment business, which is like executive producers from awesome movies that I'll share with the Techstars team once that closes. But some of these executive producers are like, what are you doing in tech? And it's so cool to see new types of angels that are coming out, right? Everybody wants to have a piece in tech right now, right? And they want to feel like they're staying ahead of the time. Everybody's scared of Chat GPT. Everybody wants to see all these cool things out and also be a part of it. They may not understand it, but they want to be with the people that they feel comfortable with, which is like myself and my team, but also who understand it, which is again, us. So I'm loving to see all this new investment. And I would say in the next, month or so, we're going to have a great update for our Techstars Toronto team to show them where we're at financially, but it's good. It's great. Ever since demo day, a lot of emails, a lot of LinkedIn messages, and a lot of great interest. So now we're just seeing how we close it up. That's it.
That's amazing. And I love when we first started talking that you're like, yeah, I have an investor call after this. And I'm like, yes, this is what we want to hear. Awesome.
And it's number 2 investor call. So I always love the part 2 when they're I have to play hot girl a little bit. It's hot girl at the party. We'll see how it goes.
All right. So last question for you. What's the future of Stagekeep?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. Our future here is we really want to dominate such an aggressive word, but it's true. We really want to dominate the market in terms of like where we see things in the US and Canada. One thing I'm doing very differently, and it's nothing I'm like really scared to talk about, is I've been also in Europe and also in Mexico trying to find those markets because it's a lot of markets that are very slept on, and the emerging markets out in Japan, and then even like in the Arab markets too, right? Seeing where investments are all over the world, because its truth is we are in this weird recession, whatever you want to call it, and investment has to be a little interesting right now. So that's where I've been around, but also looking to see how we can get key players. One thing I notice about the world is they're always just key players. The world is like a big high school, unfortunately. And there are some players and pieces around the world that are going to make certain decisions that will help generate revenue in your business. So that's where I'm trying to find and make those connections. These are tricky things for us because in entertainment, it's very high barrier to entry. So you do have to find the right people and also make the right name. So if I'm going to be branded as dancer, entrepreneur, technologist, so be it. But let me go ahead and like meet you and talk to you. And I'm going to spend the time because I care about them. So where we see the product is we're adding a lot of new different features that are coming up. Still we want to keep quiet. But we also are really looking into things like AR. AR is going to be massive. I bet on Apple all day. No problem. If things like Google Glass happened and it quote unquote failed or didn't do as well as Google received. Now that Apple is actually betting on it, it's like everybody's looking here, and so is our team. And we know that creatives are visual. They want to see stuff. They're going to be using these tools. How well will they adapt it? We don't know, but we're going to be ready regardless and move into that space. And then apart from that, it's going to be a lot of work for us to change how people think. It was tough to go ahead and say, are you sure you want to write a letter, or do you want to use this fancy technology called a phone and talk over this like piece of metal, right? Do you want to go ahead and instead of just text message or email, we start using Slack or Discord? That was a big change as well. So we have to also convince quite a lot of people who are very set in their ways with our product, and also introduce that new tool should be brought in. Not just the customers, but the investors of why this is such a need. Because I'm sure, Andrea, you saw the Rihanna performance at Super Bowl, and she slayed that, and so did the rest of the performers. but not everybody knows what work was behind that. So we have to educate constantly about that. So we just see ourselves pushing further, not just through Canada, through US, but we want the world. We want Europe, we want Mexico and Japan and K-pop and J-pop and everything else that's out there. And not just from a financial point of view. Yeah, it's going to be great, sure. But also we want to just get everybody and help everybody as best as we can.
I love the whole thing. I'm sure you're going to get there. I feel like with your energy alone, you're going to get there. And we just want to thank you for your time, for being here and talking to other founders, because a lot of them are on the fence, should I join a Techstars? Should I not join a Techstars Accelerator? So it's good to hear from you. And I am not going to say good luck because you don't need it. I'm going to say break a leg on your investor call and keep us posted of what's happening. I know that there's some news you have that you were talking about. So I can't wait to hear in a couple of months on what comes out of all of this.
Absolutely. Andrew, it was a pleasure. And for all those people who are trying to decide if they want to do it, please do it. No matter what level you are, Techstars, top on our list of people to look towards and also grab investment from. Because even though I am done, the 3-month accelerator and I just graduated, I literally was messaging Alicia Golden from our cohort and Sunil, talking to everybody. It's just been wonderful. We feel like it's a family. So we're excited to continue being part of the family. And if anybody who wants to talk more with me, you're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn and message me. I'm an open book.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Bye, Andrew.
Bye.